All right, we're here for episode 12 of It's Server Time. And today we have a special guest for you guys. It is Vu, best known for his coaching efforts for Warriors International. But no, I think everybody should know who Vu is if you're actually on YouTube. He's probably one of the most prolific content creators in the scene. I don't know who I'd put you. Like you're okay. It's not quite War Owl, but like the way I keep describing it is just that if you watch War Owl's videos to learn a little bit about the game, you should just go to Vu next. I think that's the simplest way to put it. It's just like if you want that little bit more in strategy, a little bit more experience, a little higher level stuff, it's got to be
trying to
Vu.
take over War Owl's market. I'm trying to get into that market. It's a big market, man. There's a lot of noobs and there's not a lot of people that want to be good at CS, you know?
Exactly. People want to get good at the game, but also Vu was actually on a couple of desks lately, which is why he has been brought in for this one, because we're going to be talking about Dreamhack, both the NA and the EU side. We'll go into CS Summit on top of that, but before we hop into things, just remember, guys, we are on Patreon, so jump in there. We're going to answer 2 Patreon questions today throughout the show, and also, if you guys are like not okay with YouTube for some reason, we're on Stitcher, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple, so check all of those out as well. So let's hop into it. Dreamhack Open EU. Spirit actually took it home. Vu, what did you like about Spirit at this?
So in Dreamhack November, the one prediction I got wrong was the finals of Spirit versus Gambit. Because Spirit didn't throw any fucking utility. They just... Am I allowed to swear on this? Like,
yeah.
Okay. They didn't throw any utility, man. They were just like not doing anything. They looked abysmal. So at this event, I thought they'd be terrible. They were actually using their utility correctly, like to some extent, much more so than they were before, which was pretty solid. Obviously, Degster, pretty good player. I've seen a few rounds of him where he kind of has like, it feels like he has the JDM thing where it's just like, if he has a rifle, he just can't shoot it sometimes. I've seen him have some awful whiffs with rifles. I've seen him have some pretty notable whiffs with ops as well. Ops as well. But he's not like... I feel like when I see ops come onto the scene, a lot of the time they get by with like just hyper aggressive, ridiculous play that you don't think might, continue forward. But he seems to be playing like pretty safe, pretty good. I feel like that can continue on. I feel like that's not just going to get figured out,
Yeah. Mix, did you catch... Mix and Note, have you guys seen much Degster?
I haven't seen much Degster, no. I've seen a little bit, and it's kind of funny when you kind of watch those guys that just seem to play off like positioning and stuff, and then they just for some reason seem the type of guys that will just miss like the most like easiest shots from time to time. Like they'll just be perfectly set up for like the easiest shot, and they'll just whiff it. Like it's just funny watching that. But kind of like Alu.
Yeah, I compare Degster to Alu. I feel like Degster is it's Alu reincarnating, because Alu on Ents is He's actually okay still.
But even good Alu will like from time to time just miss like the most easiest shots. Just be funny to watch. But
bot Alu versus God Alu.
Yeah,
exactly.
Pretty much. Yeah. Yeah. So I haven't seen much Degster, but he seems promising so far.
Yeah, it's about the same for me. I haven't seen too much of him. The couple of matches that I've seen, he seemed pretty good. I just wonder, like, the last time we saw an opera sort of like break out like this, it was Poison, I want to say. It was like the last one that rose this fast, and then he got countered at some point. Like as soon as he actually started like hitting his stride, he got countered pretty hard. So, but Degster doesn't have the same style, so I don't think he'll end up in the same situation.
Yeah, I think Or if you want to continue, go for it.
Well, I was just gonna say, I think them winning this event, like, I was just surprised. Big seemed to play really bad against them. Like I was shocked at some of the rounds that I saw from Big in this tournament against them.
Yeah, we can get to
rough to play. I can't really blame them.
Yeah, I think Big. For my brief call on Big, I think they just kind of played a little too individually. It's something where I feel like when I watch Big not playing at their A game, it's because they believe in their own skill too much. It's kind of one of those. Like the natural cycle of a team where it's like grind really hard, have good teamwork, and everybody starts playing really well because of the strats. And then once you feel like you have really good strats and teamwork, you feel like you're all gods individually, and you don't recognize that it's the system that's enabling you. And then you fall off because you start ignoring the system a little bit, And then, but I think it's also just because Big came back from a break, and they might also be like not as well drilled. And I don't know how many days they practiced before this event. But to bring it back to Degster, this guy is positionally, I think, a top 5 opper in the world right now, actually. But like in terms of raw skill, he's not in the top 10 for me. He can hit really, really nice shots, but the thing about him is that when you watch a Degster like 4K, if it's just replayed back, it's nothing. Like he barely ever has to hit a hard shot. It's always just like he's looking in the right place, he's
so funny
scoped,
that, like,
and they peek into him.
It's so funny that this type of offer is coming from CIS. For like it seems
Yes.
like every time I scrim a new CIS team, there's just like 3 riflers that are just doing the most insane shit and hitting the most like insane shots just
Exactly.
without any brain. And then Degster comes along as like the new like CIS opping prodigy, and he's just like the complete reverse, just winning off of pure positioning and hitting easy shots.
I feel like that kind of makes sense though. Like if you look at Shiro, for example, he's got like 0.5 DPR or something ludicrously low.
Yeah.
Like if the riflers are just going to be running around like madmen, it makes sense for an opera that's just kind of like posted up. Like, okay, I guess you can't run into this angle, you know?
Yeah, in the HLTV One for the Future article about Degster, Dexter said that as opposed to some people who are looking at simple demos or some aggressive opper, he actually tried modeling his game more on ZywOo, and I feel like it makes a lot of sense just off of the way he's playing. It's not like he's not in the faces of everybody. He does find a lot of opening kills, I'll say that, but it's rarely like he doesn't force the issue almost ever. He just he's an opper where it feels like you're watching Zipniks in a clutch. He's just super take one fight, okay, let me just win that one. All right, now let me take the other fight. And sometimes he'll handle tough situations but he'll break it down in such a way where it just feels like it's so under control. And when I watch him, if you watch Dexter's POV, it'll just be like, wow, I could do this. I literally feel like I could do this, but I don't always pick the right thing to look at all the time like he does.
He actually had one of the most boring aces I've ever seen against Big. I think it was an ace, right? On T-side nuke, where they just Searson peeks in for mini, kill. Yeah. Then he peeks out, someone's on Tetris, kill. Someone else peeks in for minis, dead. Like, what the fuck is going on here?
He's just really smart. He's really smart, actually.
But even that round, Big just seemed like they weren't communicating in that round at all.
Oh, yeah,
he walked into
100%.
his angle backward 3 times. So.
Yeah, that's true. Spirit, by the way, are a team that are trying to incorporate a 6-man roster, but they kind of left it. I think that needs to be brought up because everyone started noticing because they were actually using a different lineup of 5 people on every single map for the first 5 maps that they played at this tournament. And by the end of the tournament, in the grand finals, they used the same 5-man lineup for all 3 maps in the grand finals. And in the semifinals, they only switched out they switched out Degster, as crazy as that sounds, for Patsy, and Patsy bottom frag with 9 kills. And then I think at that point they were just like, let's stop. And that was their map pick. They picked Inferno to not play Degster on it. What?
I think that's just been consistent for them because I think in the opening match they played, I forget who it was against. They played Inferno and they had Patsy in that game as well.
Yes, they did.
And Patsy did I think top frag in that game. So
he did.
So it was consistent with what they were doing. So obviously they just didn't. Maybe Dexter didn't feel as comfortable opping on Inferno, or they just wanted to try having 5 pure riflers on Inferno. So it's there is a theory to it. The other maps I'm not so sure what exactly the theory has been between swapping out whoever and swapping out Patsy, but I can tell on Inferno there is a theory there for switching out their opper. And obviously it didn't work so well that time, but I wouldn't hate on it too much.
They're also swapping out Mur. Mur and Degster are 2 of the players on this roster that you just shouldn't be swapping out.
They've kept Mur for every game. Actually, he's the one player. That's the one player that they have not. I don't think that he's moved out of anything. But they switched out their IGL even at one point. Chopper.
That's what. Yeah, it was Chopper. Sorry, not Mur. Yeah.
Yeah, they swapped out Chopper on Overpass, and then their T side was just nothing was happening, and it was just what? Why would you guys even do this? Please.
So, I mean, it doesn't make sense if I think what Vu said earlier that Dexter's rifle isn't so good. Mm-hmm. So especially on T side, if you're not finding, it can be tricky depending on the team you're facing, whether the ops actually can be able to find opportunities on T side or not, and just overall whether you're comfortable with it. So it definitely can make a lot of sense to go with a.
Sometimes Young's also a good opper.
Yeah, he is. He is competent for sure.
It's good enough to pick it up on CT side. So
yeah,
CT side opping is a lot easier than T side opping. That's all I'm saying.
I feel like it kind of makes sense to sub out. I mean, if you're going to sub out your IGL on any map, I feel like CIS teams, literally what they do is they just go B on overpass like 15 rounds in a row. Like that's just their thing. So I guess like if that's your plan anyways, like you may as well put in another fragger so you can walk into B and headshot people a bit better.
Yeah,
Although I don't agree with it in general. Like if you're gonna do it on any map.
If you go A, you have to like actually use your util and like take control and like kind of like set up your execute and like communicate. And on B, you can just be like, all right, I'm flashing out monster, go.
All right, take water control. All right, now we exec.
Yep, now you're good, and then you're out. Maybe you haven't smoke if you're feeling naughty, but
feeling dirty, yeah. Okay, so the other finalists here of DreamHack Open EU side was FunPlus Phoenix, and this team actually beat Evil Geniuses. They beat out Gambit. They actually had all in all a pretty nice run for themselves for their opening tournament, and I'll say that they clearly have a decent strat book already. Like they know how to actually build up rounds and things like that, which I think you would expect given the core 4 of this was under Crystal's tutelage for a long time. So it's pretty nice to see, but I don't know if you guys caught much of it in terms of like how they were playing on an individual level or anything.
I didn't catch much of them in terms of watching. We scrimmed them before one of our match days.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of like pretty early in the week, so I'm not sure how indicative it was, but I felt like they were playing pretty well, especially I think it was on their T side. They had like a pretty good T side.
Yeah.
They did pretty well against us, so yeah, I mean, so far I'm pretty impressed with the team. I think it makes sense. Devil seems like a decent coach. Has been able to keep like everything kind of in line as they're like switching over from Crystal to new people, and that probably helps Chris having like, because Chris J doesn't really seem like someone that's going to come in and like set up his own system and everything, right? He's just mostly can call it kind of loose, and he can call it kind of around what you already have and whatever the coach and other players want to set up. So it works pretty well with Chris J.
You can also pull a little bit from what karrigan was calling on mouse boards, so he has a little bit more you can add to their playbook now. Just sort of nice for them.
I don't know if I'm super convinced by Chris J. It just feels like they replaced Crystal. I guess like the reasoning there is you want someone that can frag better, and then they replaced him with Emmy, and then they replaced Emmy with Chris J. And it's like none of these guys can frag better than Crystal. I have to question why they got rid of Crystal.
No, Chris J can frag.
Chris
J is
better.
Well,
I think Chris J is better than Crystal.
I think he can definitely frag better, but I don't know. We haven't seen him fragging and IGLing for a while, and I would imagine that's going to drag him down a bit. You know.
I think he's someone that actually could do better in terms of like calling while fragging. I think on Mouse, especially, like his role just changed so much, and like it changed so much between what he had to do, what he was comfortable doing. And I just think towards the end of Mouse, he kind of like lost his confidence, lost kind of his faith in what he's good at. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, one thing I like about Chris J on this lineup is that actually at the event he put up a 0.88 rating, but he was kind of the hard entry on a lot of their strats and things.
Yeah,
so
that's the thing. It's like even if like his rating isn't necessarily going to be like 10 times better than Crystal, I think he's just going to have like 10 times more impact than.
Okay, actually at this event, Chris J had the 4th highest entry attempts per round. Like that's just he's trying to be like an info IGL. I think the meta is actually kind of shifting where people really want like a hard, like aggressive player on their team, and I think Chris is trying to do it for this roster right now, which I'm actually okay with because, dude, I watched a lot of Godsent things where it's like, oh, a 2v3 with Crystal, so he's just gonna die probably, and then then the guy's on a 1v3 now. But if it's now Zen and Stiko in a 2v3, I'm like that can happen. I'm actually like that should work a lot of the time. Give me Farlig in a post plant, dude. He's gonna just kill everybody every time. So yeah, I think if he changes the team style in that he lets other people have more kind of like those late round roles as opposed to himself, like that, then I think this FPX lineup can actually rise in stock, just because he's enabling people a little bit more, whereas Crystal didn't in terms of what he was doing in the server. Okay. Question though for you guys, because this is something that I consistently feel when I watch FPX, is that who do you guys think is the star of this team, or is there one?
Farlig. That's who I'm immediately tempted to say.
Yeah, Farlig would have to be like the main candidate for that, I would say as well.
Which I mean, I guess makes sense as the offer, but it is kind of interesting how like all the riflers seem to be kind of around a similar level a lot of the time.
They are. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you got to go with Farlig. I mean, I watched a lot of Stiko's demos, and that guy is fucking nuts when he gets like the chance to actually take fights. But it's, got to be Farlig.
Stiko is the Sanji of this team. He has to take he'll drop the op and things like that.
And the thing is that I think Farlig is definitely the star at the moment, but like if Zen or Maiden doesn't kind of like step up into being like a consistent like second like star rifler, like, consistently putting up numbers, that is something that's gonna hold them back from ever kind of like breaking into like tier 1, like in terms of like like the top 5 and competing with like being able to seriously compete with like the Astralis and like Vitalities of the world and being able to have good series against them.
I actually think Zen is pretty consistent. I feel like he doesn't hit the highs that you might want from.
He's consistent, but I don't think it's consistently like high enough.
Yeah, like his peak isn't high enough, but he's very consistent at the level he's at.
So it probably have to come more from Maiden, just improving a ton as a player.
Yes, yeah. Maiden is like constantly in these pressure lurk roles, and I feel like he's always trying to do a little bit too much. Like sometimes it's great because he'll walk up A ramp on Vertigo by himself and just kill 2 people, and then they just win the round. But sometimes he'll push up too far on Banana, and he'll just like keep pressuring into the site to the point where he dies, and it's just like, okay, now you just lost that control. Like I feel like he doesn't always trust the system that he's in as much as maybe like it's it's never easy, and you kind of want to see what you can get away with against a team. You want to like challenge them enough, but it feels like sometimes he'll be that guy that second gun round, they take Banana control. It's the play is developing towards A, and then he just walks into an op at B, and I'm just like, okay, that just took away a lot from your team. So just just chill sometimes for me. But other than that, he is really good. But yeah, I think that if nobody else, it's kind of just like they're all actually pretty decent. And it's why Godsend is kind of consistently, or FPX/Godsend is always top 6 at a lot of the things they go to. But they don't get over the hump because there is no star rifler in my eyes. All right, let's move on to Evil Geniuses. They're having trouble now, so we could talk about their performances at multiple events now. They actually didn't even make the playoffs here at Dreamhack, and they didn't do very well at Blast either. What do you guys think is going wrong with them? Because it's now 2 tournaments where they probably should have been settled by now.
I mean, speaking of not having a star rifler, Breezy's really dropped off for them.
Yeah.
So I think that's definitely like one of the main issues with them at the moment.
I think it goes beyond just like individuals, but like overall, they just feel so stale. Just like stale. Like it doesn't really feel like much has changed in them. Like in terms of like how they play in the past year, like the lineup itself just feels stale. Like it doesn't really feel anything new's coming from it. They had that run after Zeus came in, in NA last year, and then after that, it's just kind of like they kind of were able to get the momentum, able to get their confidence rolling in those few months, and then they just haven't really been able to find that again. And it doesn't seem like they changed that much in game, and I don't really know how much prep they do for like other teams and stuff. So it just feels bland. It feels like kind of stale. Like there's not much that's like confidence inspiring for the team or for anyone else. Like I just kind of struggle to like see a way into them like winning games at the moment.
I kind of felt like they had like a bit of a honeymoon period that you get with IGLs, which I kind of felt a little bit about FPX, like before they have to implement anything or change anything. With Zeus when he came in. But yeah, I mean, one thing that I didn't like about EG in the past when they were on, their run is it always feels like they've been over reliant on Breeze. They'll do stuff where they're just like on Inferno, they'll just have Stan and Breeze like duoed on A, and they'll just be tripled up on B. And it just feels like, so if Breeze doesn't kill people, you lose the round here. And now he's like not doing that well, and they're still doing the same shit. And it just feels like they're kind of not setting themselves up to get out of that. Cirque's also, I looked at the stats. They've got under a 50% win rate when Cirque gets the first entry. That's
crazy.
That's pretty bad.
Crazy.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Ethan's still doing a really good job being pretty consistent, but then like because they haven't changed anything and Breezy's set up as their star and he's fallen off, then it just leads them to like not be able to find much success if he's not having impact in his role and they haven't changed anything up to like let someone else fill that gap, then they're just not going to be able to put up proper.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like some teams can consistently figure out ways to like change up their way, like stick together as 5 and like consistently adapt and shit like that. And I think with some lineups, that's not really something you can like naturally force. And you know, if EG can make it happen, you know, they can continue to make this lineup kind of reform itself, kind of regain their confidence in themselves, then you know, more credit to them. But a lot of times it feels like kind of the only way to even like get a fresh start and start to even look at the game a different way or kind of like change yourself is by like making some sort of like change, which is either, you know, it doesn't even have to be like replacing the IGL necessarily, but you know, just replacing one player with someone that plays a bit differently, that is just kind of a different player. I don't even know who I've replaced exactly, but it can just completely like reinvigorate a team.
Well, I mean, with all these teams doing like 6-man rosters, it could also be like a really good shout to have them bring in like a 6th player to switch out on 1 or 2 maps, even just to reinvigorate them and give them a little bit more motivation to change ups and stuff.
Vu, if you had to change either one player or you had to tell them you guys need to play, you have to change this about your style, what would you say to EG, or what would you do as like the GM here?
Fuck. Really hitting me with the tough questions, man. I thought them and Liquid doing a trade, like I heard that there might have been something in the works, you know, like a year ago between them and Liquid. That would have been pretty cool. I think they have the talent. Like the thing is, it's kind of like the situation with Twistzz, where it's like you don't want to lose any of these players because they're gonna go to a rival team.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna fucking destroy you. So like a trade with Liquid would have made so much sense. I don't think that makes any sense currently, but that would make sense, or that would have made sense. What do you do now? I've never liked Stan, man. I've never liked Stan's calling, honestly.
Listen, it's time for 2017 Liquid 2.0, because you got Zeus as the coach, you got Stan as the IGL, you got a NA player from around 2015 that has called before, never really stuck with it, but you know, showed promise in the past. So it's just a repeat. You move the Stan IGL duties to Tarek, you got Zeus there, and then eventually things just kind of all go the exact same way, and in 2023 EG wins the Grand Slam.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I've never liked Stan. I've never liked Stan's IGLing style that much. So if I was gonna change someone, it would have to be Stan. I don't know who the hell you'd pick up, like Sheikh Zula.
I don't know, fuck it, dude. I'm kind of saying fuck it. I want to see Tarek IGL again. I thought he was.
Yeah, that could definitely work.
I'm gonna be real. I don't think Sheikh Zula could frag on a tier 1
That's just
level.
the first IGL that came to mind. Like I agree with you. It's just I'm trying to think of who they could replace them with, and it's like there's not a long list. Like bring Nitro back, like have him rifle again. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, if they weren't going to replace them with directly IGL, that was even the move they wanted to make. Even if like it's just keeping Stan on the team, like for now, and you know, kind of like what Liquid did before, like literally just having Tarek pick up more IGL duties or something, just something that just gives you like a completely different style and like way of like playing the game almost. I mean, I think it'd be somewhat similar, but it's still a change that is going to affect you, which I think is something that you actually need.
I mean, for some of their post-game segments and interviews, it seemed like Tarek has a pretty like large contribution.
Yeah, I'm sure he has a pretty large contribution. Anyway. Yeah, but so that's why I think like if he did move to calling, like it's not going to completely change their game, but there are like certain themes, and like just changing that overall like in the team is going to kind of give it like a different feeling. Which, you know, you could even do that, you know, you go to like something that's actually good and useful for teams that I don't know why teams don't try more often. I guess just because time is like such an important issue. But like say you go to like Tarek calling, like you say you're just going to try it for like a full month nonstop, right? You just go to that, you have them picking up the duties for like a month, you just keep going through it to like thick intent up until like a certain event. And then after that, if you want to still go back and you want to change back and you want to have Stan keep calling, like it still is like a nice refresher for a team. You kind of go back, you kind of like have like a new perspective now. That's something I've done on teams with like changing spots for a bit. You know, you might move someone to like a completely different spot for like a week or something and kind of like change up your T side. And then even if you decide you don't like it and you go back, like it kind of like reinvigorates your spots almost. It kind of reinvigorates what you had going before.
I wonder if they could try something like what Astralis was doing as well when they had Zonic calling during their scrims. just to give Glaive like different ideas and give him a chance to sort of focus on himself too. Could be a good chance to give them like a little bit of a different look.
Yep.
Okay, let's move on from EG. But we'll stick with NA here. So, in the Dreamhack NA side, it was actually Pain that won, which I think Vu predicted. Vu, you were on that. You
me and Tom Biz called Pain. Everyone else called Extra Salt.
Damn, that's a bold pred. Okay, well, was it one, a hipster pick to just pick the not Extra Salt team, or two, like, did you really like? I mean, I knew there was a chance always that they were going to win this, but like, what stood out for you with Pain that made you think that this was their tournament?
So I haven't seen too much Pain. I'm gonna be honest. My main thing that I went for is like the team I'm coaching played them in the Cash Cup at some point. They seemed really strong. And then everyone I asked that has scrimmed Pain was all like 100%. Pain never loses this event, like easy win. I'm like, all right, I guess we're going with Pain.
Really, even over Extra Salt? Like, I thought people would think Extra Salt was gonna do better. I mean, everybody on the desk. I mean, like, other than you and Tom, everybody predicted Extra Salt to win.
I think Tom's was a hipster pick too. Like, I don't think he was really thinking that much that they'd win. I don't know. It seemed like that to me. He could have maybe knew what was going on. I don't think he did though.
I'm gonna say he probably wasn't watching the ESEA Cash Cup, to be completely honest. just a guess about Tom and what he's doing with his free time. But I'll say that Pain actually looked pretty good. Like, I can't really take anything away from them here. The way that they play is, I mean, it's really aggressive sometimes, but I could see that in the finals they went up a gear in that they actually were running strats out of spawn some of the time. They had good execs once they took map control. It wasn't just puggy push everything all the time kind of Counter-Strike. Although some reason in like other parts of the bracket it felt like that. Like the first time they played Rebirth, it felt really brawly, but then the second time in the grand finals they actually, like I said, they were just running more strats and they like slowed rounds down a lot more. So it was actually pretty refreshing to see, because I thought it was just going to be a massive deathmatch, a big fight. But that actually wasn't the case. They actually mid-rounded pretty well and outplayed Rebirth, who were kind of playing with very little to no practice on some of the maps.
I mean, to go along with Vu's line, I like Pain a lot. Honestly, the team, like they've done a pretty good job since they moved to NA, I think. Even when they played in the Cash Cups early on, they were showing that they were pretty decent as a team overall. They still have that like resilient style and structure behind them, which I sort of really like. And it's I don't want to quite compare them to like when LG first came to NA, because I think that team was just in general a little bit more skilled individually.
Yeah.
But in terms of their approach to the game and the way they're sort of able to fend off NA teams, I think they just know what they're doing, if that makes sense. Like a lot of their interviews in this tournament, they were saying that they were extremely confident. They had no doubt that they were going to win it. And to me, that just says that they have a very good, like they prepare very well going into an event like this. And they know the sort of approach they need to take against the teams that are in North America.
Yeah, they when they needed to, they could adjust their style based off of what they needed to do to win, which was nice to see. I guess for people that didn't really catch Pain overall, it does seem like Safe is probably going to be their best overall player, but Big Uzera I think is actually better. But it was kind of like Safe was for me a little bit more consistent a lot of the time, but Big Uzera took advantage of a lot of like mid-round situations where there was a little bit of like when the strat, it's kind of like the Bubsky for me, where it's like still very aggressive, but he can also just manage when a round is kind of going awry. He can bring it back in some ways. Like he knows, okay, this doesn't feel good, so I'm gonna find a timing here in like 10 seconds. I just need to wait, and then this will open up for me. So it was cool to see that in some respects. But did you guys catch any of Extra Salt though? Because I feel like that was a letdown.
Not.
Yeah, that was
They did not look too good. I mean, the first time around, it felt like, I know this is for later, but it felt like, you know, sometimes you can just have players on Rebirth that just steal games. That's
Yes.
kind of what it felt like when they first played Rebirth. And they just don't feel like they're all there quite yet. You can see they're like a team, you know, but Fang's no floppy. And I do expect that they're going to get there over some time, at least to a higher level. I think they would have been a good matchup against Pain. I think, you know, they have beat Pain before. I think their style matches up decently with Pain, but they weren't quite what I was expecting them to be at the event.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think you could kind of see the bones of their structure here, but Rebirth just kind of in a way played they just played in their faces so much that Rebirth or Extra Salt could never run an exec. And we know that basically the XC9 guys, like JT led teams, like when they run their plays, they are going to destroy you. Like their strats are really effing good. But Rebirth was like, we're just going to play the most aggressive defaults we always can against you, which is just going to lead to a lot of 50-50 rounds. And like you said, like players on Rebirth can just steal rounds. Like the way that Exotic and Curry were just running at them at times and just killing them, it's like there's honestly not a lot you can do about that if you can't just hit your shots. And it showed that OC though was, I think, the better opper between the two of them. Like every time they faced off, I think it was something like legitimately like throughout the series, throughout the like OC killed Exotic something like 12 times and Exotic killed him like 3 times. It was unreal. Just, and it was op for op, not just kills in general. So it shows that OC is really on another level than Exotic, but Exotic actually ended the tournament with better stats. And I mean, he made it to a grand finals, but I think it's just like Exotic destroys riflers, but OC actually has the experience to know how to play against like an opper that's going to try to play like that.
Do we know who's calling for them?
For who?
Rebirth?
For Rebirth. I'm assuming
Retchie.
it's Carson?
It's Retchie. It's Retchie.
Interesting. All right.
My pupil. My pupil.
I know, from what I heard at least, Rebirth actually did a pretty good job at like countering Extra Salt and actually putting like work into that, and it seemed to work out pretty well for them. So
yeah.
I think for me, like Fang's inexperience just showed in this tournament in the way he was playing. Like I think he's a really talented player, but the fact that he hasn't played it like in larger tournaments and in a team with the sort of structure as Extra Salt really showed in this tournament, because he was in a lot of individual 1v1s that he took. His trading and his spacing was a little bit off. And that's all stuff that will obviously get improved as he plays more with the team. But that was a big part of a lot of the rounds that they lost, I think, along with obviously the whole team just missing out on a lot of their trading and spacing opportunities. But yeah, I think in general, the team will get better over time. It's just way too early to really give them a chance. They only have something like a month of practice at this point, even less.
I do love seeing a Premier team actually put work into anti-stratting rather than just let's play our own game. Let's not aim these guys. Yeah.
Retchie was telling me at the end of every day how he was going to game plan for the team he's playing tomorrow. Like he was actually thinking about it. He was watching the demos. It was like, holy shit, dude! You actually made it to a grand finals because you actually clearly had plans for like your CT side and T sides. Even though it didn't work against Pain, but I mean, it honestly. It really showed against Extra Salt. And I think something that works against Extra Salt right now in the NA space is that everybody knows how they're going to play now. They know how JT is going to call more or less. Like, I think JT has diversified his playbook a good amount. Like, I think, like, kind of at the end.
A lot since I originally started working with him.
Yeah, it used to be just, like, calls out of spawn, but then he started calling more defaults. And then I feel like you guys weren't great at defaulting like for longer stretches in a round, but then if it set something else up later in a round, then it looked pretty good, and it was like, okay, that helped you just keep the other teams honest more so. So I feel like the thing you were saying, no, I really agree with Fang not knowing that kind of style. Like I don't think he's been on teams before where they probably like default for 30 seconds, move into a map control procedure, and then from there run a strat. It's like Fang wants to find kills in every first 30 seconds. Like he was taking a lot of opening duels. He was like basically like if I'm playing MDL today and I'm defaulting on overpass and I'm playing B, I'm gonna just fly up short. I don't give a shit. Like I don't, because I don't think we have an exec to play with. And Fang was doing that, and it's like, yo, wait, you're on a JT team. You don't need to take those fights. You actually can just wait, because that strat into B is gonna be really effing good. But it works against bad players because he is pretty skilled. But when you're playing people who can shoot as well as you can, you need to wait for the plays to develop a little bit more. All right, we'll move off of Dreamhack here. Oh well. Actually, will one shout out to everybody on Rebirth, because honestly, like, Exotic was freaking amazing despite the past that he has. Like, he is effing good. Like, he is freaking sweet with the op. Like, he was the fastest opper in both regions actually at this Dreamhack in NA and EU. He was like easily the fastest. Like, he sees people for like 1 second or like a millisecond and they're dead. It's just like, I haven't seen anybody that quick. I mean, like, I literally think of Simple when I think of that, like, in terms of actual time to kill for an opper. But let's move on. Let's go to CS Summit. So, Mix, you guys actually made it to the playoffs here for Cloud9. And I guess, how do you think your journey went in this one?
I think it was all right. The losses to Furia were like super close. They're just a tough team to play overall. But I feel like we had our opportunities to win that game. The schedule was definitely fucking annoying. Like our first our first like 3 or 4 matches started at like 10 p.m. like on average, and then would end at like 2 a.m., which was just fucking ridiculous. I don't know why that was a thing. But besides that, like, I think it went pretty well. I was pretty overall satisfied with our results. We didn't really get like destroyed by anyone. Like the matches we lost, like Furia, were both overall pretty close, and we got map wins in both of them. The Fnatic one, kind of a similar thing. So just like a learning curve in terms of like what our good maps are, what our weak spots are. Like, it's just impossible to know that when our team is literally like, even with the first lineup, our first scrim together was like 3 months ago. So it's like, even if we hadn't made a change since then, it'd still be just such a short amount of time to have everything under control. So far, yeah, I'm pretty happy with everything, and I think Alex's opping was, especially like his first event doing it, I was pretty overall satisfied with it.
How much practice do you guys actually have since adding Zeppa? Like, how many scrims or how many weeks have you played?
Like a week or two. Okay. I'd probably say closer to like 2 weeks.
I think making playoffs then is pretty satisfying, and I think your results then for a week of practice is like,
I'd say
actually
like
really,
yeah.
Huh?
I say like, yeah, 2 weeks of practice, getting like Eric or Zeppa integrated into the team, Alex getting used to opping. So there's like a lot of new things, and also like just overall, like, Elma's a very different coach from Kassad, and so getting used to that.
What did he do differently?
Elma is just more hands-on, I guess. Like, I just feel like their styles just work in completely different teams. Like, with Kassad has like that type of like control and like kind of full say in Extreme with those guys. Like, I don't think Azure is like as much of a vocal IGL as like Alex is, and like SSI's also pretty vocal. So like, when you have like players that are like pretty vocal like that, I don't think Kassad's style works as well. Which is just a bit more straightforward, like kind of like his like strats and system and stuff. Just overall like his way of doing things. And so Chris, it's a lot more pretty similar to like how I would do things. Like on United, where we're going over a lot more film together. Going over our matches, going over previous rounds from scrims. We're doing that a lot more now. Just overall like more communication, kind of. Chris, I think Chris just works better with Alex and Patrick than Kassad did.
That's cool to hear.
So just different styles, I think, just fit different teams. Like, I think people oversimplify it as like good coach, good IGL, put them together, and it's gonna be perfect. It's like, especially when you're like putting together a team of like 5 new people that haven't played together before and a coach, like the odds that everyone's just gonna like fit together seamlessly right from the start is just so extremely low.
Yeah, how about this? For viewers who haven't really seen much of Zeppa because they may not have been following Chaos that well, what did you guys like about Zeppa for the past 6, 7, 8 months?
Like, you mean as a team or like just
no, in general, like as a player.
he has a lot of he's like an aspect of fearlessness to him that I really like. You know, just you can tell when a player just isn't afraid to take duels no matter what. Like you're gonna like continue to play a pretty similar game. You know, they're not like scared by other teams. And also his mechanics are just like fucking just completely off the charts. He's probably come in and probably just instantly has like the best mechanics in the team. So
Seriously?
like just,
Wait, really? You think he has better
He's
mechanics
really
than Floppy?
good, man.
I mean, like,
yeah, I think like pure mechanics, like aim, like you know, like that type of style.
dude, I thought he would rival Floppy. I don't know if he's better though.
I think they're very different. I think they're different like styles though.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, Floppy's a lot more like just solid, consistent, gets his shit down. Eric's a lot more fucking just kind of like flicky boy all over the place.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I feel like Floppy makes the game easier for himself. So I guess I almost feel like Zeppa's mechanics come out more because his situations aren't as clearly like whether they're good or bad. Whereas Floppy always
still
takes
get more experience.
Yeah,
Zeppa's still like a lot more experience again. That helps having like Alex and Patrick and Chris on the team to help him with that.
Mm-hmm. Vu, would you be Team Floppy or Team Zeppa right now?
Which one has better? I mean, I prefer. It's like the two sides. It's like I prefer watching Floppy play, but I've seen a bunch of Zeppa demos, and they just look so nice. He just looks so good, man. He just looks so nice to watch. You know, I just want to watch more of it.
Yeah, I just half the time when I'm like in scrims, I'm just on Zeppa POV because I just enjoy watching. I enjoy watching him flick around and just headshot people. It's so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah, his time to kill is really freaking fast. That's true. Yeah,
that's what I was about to mention when I was talking to some of the old in-game leaders he played with when I did the feature on him. They all mentioned, or well, I guess Josh RT specifically mentioned that when he was scouting him, he looked at his time to kill and it was like absolutely nuts. That was one of the main things that caused him to pick him up at the time. So like, yeah, Zeppa's just, I think his positioning and the way he like understands when he needs to take initiative and take control of a round is also really good. Like he knows when he has to take like a fight, and he, like you said, he's fearless when he needs to take it. So he does a really good job combining those two aspects. So yeah, I think just more time for him in this roster and more experience will really yield dividends.
We just need like, especially when you have like 5 players together, like finding like your fundamentals, like finding like your base, kind of finding like how exactly all your pieces fit together, just in like a more natural way. It's just a big thing. Like it's like I say like Zeppa almost has like an opposite problem with Mezzi, which is like Mezzi's like really fucking smart, and I think at times, especially playing with like new players in his first time in a team like this, just probably like was overthinking things sometimes, like, you know, maybe too scared to take some fights, just like
doesn't want to make mistakes.
Yeah, like trying to play too smart at times. And I think, you know, with him, it's kind of the opposite of just getting more comfortable with like trusting his intuition and like the plays he wants to make. And, you know, just everyone getting more comfortable in the teams right now as well versed in.
Okay, maybe Mix doesn't have to answer this, but we will all answer this one. Note, in 8 months, who will be the best player between Mezzi, Floppy, and Zeppa?
Holy shit. You know what? I'm gonna go with Zeppa, honestly. 8 months of practice in Europe, man. I think it'll be really good for him. I think Zeppa's peak is very high, and he just doesn't have a lot of experience playing against European teams right now. And I think a little bit longer, a little bit more time under Cloud9 and under Alex, and being able to work on himself a little bit more, he can definitely surpass that level.
He almost kind of reminds me of like an early Elige, in terms of like someone that had to like find their voice, like who was like really insane mechanically, and like was aggressive, but had to like kind of like find their voice and find like how to like fit their aggressiveness into like the structure of a team and figure out how to make like the best use of it, and knowing like when and where to do things.
Vu, who's your pick?
You guys are all going with Zeppa. I'll go with Mezzi. I'll give Mezzi a shout.
Damn.
I didn't say Zeppa. I was comparing him to like.
Okay. Well, you compare him with the Liege.
I don't know.
Compare him with the Liege. You know, it's like
early Liege.
Early, yeah, just a really early Liege. Yeah, I'll go with Mezzi. Just to add a little bit of, because I think Zeppa is going to be. Yeah. He has so much ability to mature on this team and get so nuts. He's kind of like the obvious choice, but I do like what I see from Mezzi. I do like
Mezzy
Mezzy.
is a stone cold fucking clutch and minister, and that's what we're always grown into. And then Ricky's like kind of like a combination of the two. You know, sometimes he's clutch minister, sometimes he's entry. You know, he's
kind
just
of like a NAF.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like an early nap.
Yeah. I think I have to pick Floppy for sure here. I think right now he's just farther along than Mezzy and Zeppa. And I could see in like a year and a half, I could see Zeppa being the best. But I think he has a little too much to learn right now. I mean, maybe you guys will get him up to speed, but I feel like Floppy has just so much more experience right now that I pretty much just have to go with him. And it's kind of like boring because I think that Floppy's the best today, and I think Floppy's going to be the best in eight months still. So
this is like what you did on the Dreamhack analyst desk, where like everyone's got like 70% certainty on who they think's gonna win, and then you just got Mauisnake like extra salt 40%.
40%.
This is clearly the most reasonable answer. Really, it is. But like, come on,
it's just not hot enough.
What I realize though is that Alex Wu is incoming.
Oh my god,
protege.
I don't know if okay, all right. I did want to talk about Alex's opping. I think
he hits a couple of nice shots. We just start screaming Zaiwu into the mic.
One more point on this quickly though, because like 8 months is a lot of time to be practicing, and I think the fact that Floppy's been playing in North America a lot, I would say that the experience that Zeppa and Floppy will gain in Europe will be like somewhat at the same level, if that makes sense. So Floppy's definitely played against European teams more, but not enough where his experience against those sort of teams is way above Zeppa's. So I think in terms of 8 months of practice over there, they'll rise up at the same rate. I'm just wondering like how quickly it'll catch up.
He's technically been in EU, but like he's just been in the UK scene, fucking playing UK lanes. It's not like he's playing
legioning around.
Yeah, it's not like he's playing like top EU teams every fucking week. So I mean, even for him, it's like totally new.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Let's see. Actually, I actually wanted to say one more thing about Alex's opping. I feel like I feel like he still doesn't know like all of the micro engagements. The best way to take them.
He like noticed himself is like there's like one instance when we first played Fury on Inferno against Banana, we were like rewatching around, and like Alex noticed like the way like Art peaked a certain angle that was bad for him, and like the way he was standing, he was like, that's just one of those things I have to keep learning.
That's basically the way I put it is just like
recognizing those things, which is nice to see.
Yeah, and what's tough is that I know that he's going to be wanting to put a lot of time into like demo work and just everything like that, but I honestly, the prescription for me for Alex would just be like, dude, just play 5 FPL games every night. I think you'll get a lot better very quickly because
I think he actually does that more than like demo watching. Like he not even just FPL, but just playing like normal pugs if there's like no FPL on or something.
Good.
Like he's I think he is like of the same proponent where like he just feels like he needs to get game time in with the op and just get used to it.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's so many little things where it's just like the distance between the two, like all the geometry and stuff like that, like making sure you have the dominant angle for right eye and geometry reasons, like making like sometimes also like certain left swings they're better than you might think they are. Like I don't know, there's just certain fights that I feel like he isn't as comfortable. I mean, you put it nicely. The way that like sometimes he'll fight at Banana is not perfect, and that's kind of like expected because I would say he was the secondary opper on Vitality. It was kind of like if they needed to double op on CT side, him and Zaiwu would do it. So he just was like good at those like his spots, like where Zaiwu takes care of the whole map, and then Alex is just like
because he didn't even have to like second op that much because he played like a lot of like the main rotator spots that like you never op, and so it's like he didn't even have like that much op time a lot of the time.
Yeah. He only brought it out when like they almost needed to. Like very rarely they needed to, and I would see him occasionally have it. It's like once per BO3 or something like that. He'll bust out an op on CT side. Okay, so VP ended up winning this event, and they didn't drop a single map. I want to ask you guys, I guess, who do you guys think was their biggest challenge throughout the event? So The team that took them the closest in terms of rounds was actually, I think, NIP. No one
Yeah,
even took VP. Yeah.
NIP did like their second time, but I'd still consider Furia as like the
Yeah.
most more prominent challenger, just because like NIP got kind of rolled the first time, and I think maybe like playing them that one time kind of like maybe could have helped them the second match, and just naturally I think Furia is just the best match for a team like VP at the moment still in terms of fearlessness, because like who's the other team they played? Maus, which is kind of like a dead team at the moment, even though they were playing well.
Yeah.
And then they played Fnatic, which I think we'll talk about soon, but like it's still getting like used to like having a new player and kind of changing up some things there. So like I feel like on LAN maybe Fnatic would be a better challenger to VP. I feel like that's like a matchup that would be kind of different on LAN. So at the moment I'd probably still say Furia.
You gotta go with Furia, I think. Yeah, I mean, like, the problem with Furia is they've still got like the stand-in, right? So if they play them on Inferno, game goes kind of close. You go into Overpass, and it feels like a foregone conclusion that VP is just gonna win. I think I think map 3 was supposed to be Mirage. I feel like if it had managed to be map 3, if Furia had managed to close out a map, they definitely could have had a chance to close out the series.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the cracks really showed for Furia in this tournament in terms of just not having their full roster together as well. Like they could have taken that Inferno over the line over VP, but there's a lot of individual mistakes that were being made as well. Like there's a round, I think one of their first CT rounds that they won on Inferno, they had like a 5 versus 1 against Jame, and then they each peaked him 1 by 1 by 1, and then they ended up winning the round in a 1v1. Their money's fucked. So like it's just really small stuff like that where like those small mistakes add up over time, because then you're losing 2 rounds instead of just 1 when you're needing to buy next. So
I think Sanji won like a 1v4 or something like
that
that
as
too.
well.
Yeah, like that's not okay. I mean, Sanji's cool. I like Sanji. He is the most overrated, underrated player now for me, though. I literally hear constantly now that Sanji's underrated. I've been hearing Bardoff has been saying Sanji's underrated for a year straight now. After a while, he's just rated. He's just like.
That kind of reminds me, like back in like 2017, like towards the end of like the Shroud scene, where people were like, "Dude, who are the most overrated players in the world?" And like people would say Shroud, and I'm like, "Who the fuck is overrating Shroud?" Like literally everyone says overrated. So how the fuck is he overrated? If anything, he was like super underrated at the end of his tenure. Like, I don't know. Just that happens so much. I notice people will just overrate someone for like a year, and then like it just goes the opposite way.
Yeah.
I want to say that like huge shout out to Jackinho this tournament. He was really sick, especially on that Overpass map. Like one of the best CT sides we've seen in a long time as well.
Yep.
I feel like Jackinho being sick is like it's old news. Like Jackinho is actually just nuts. I went through a bunch of his demos as well, and like he impressed me with like just the little stuff that you see from him that like you don't really see in a broadcast necessarily, but like the little movement stuff, the little tricks he'll do that really separate him from someone that's like just a little bit worse. He's good. I could see him being such a good player in a few years, like with some more experience, some more practice.
He already is good.
He already is such a good player. He could be nuts, man. He could be like the stuff I've seen from. I haven't seen stuff from him yet that I don't like. Like I like all of it. I like everything I see from Jackinho.
Yeah, Jackinho is like the thinking man's worst nightmare, because he does so many things that are just like, oh, in the macro it's wrong, but then it's like, holy shit, his micro choices are incredible. Yeah. It's crazy.
I feel like his anti-aiming, like this sounds like kind of dumb.
Anti-aim, he's hacking.
No, like his ability to like destroy someone else's crosshair placement. Is like really, really good. More than I've seen from almost any other player, where like he can constantly get you looking the wrong direction or looking just a little bit off, and then he's always gonna laser beam you every time.
Yeah, that's well said. I love him. I love what he brings to the game. I love him in the server. He's good too. But yeah, he's this VP team, I feel like you can just talk about every player, like top to bottom. Like Buster is also just behind Jackinho as like a second man entry a lot of the time. It's so good too. I mean, he used to be the first man, and now that he gets to be the second guy, it's just like everything opens up for him now. And Kickert is just the bailout guy still. Like tough situations. He kind of had a quieter tournament. I didn't see as many moments for him. I actually was more impressed with Sanji this time, but I feel like that's because they're winning more, so Sanji has to drop less guns. So because he gets a rifle in his hands more, we get to see what he can actually do. So it's just like, yep, this is how good he's always been. But he has a deagle like 30% of the time normally, but finally he's getting rifle kills. All right, let's see. Actually, I'll bring it up now. So VP just today moved to 6th in the world rankings. They moved up 4 spots. Let's just put it out there. So I would say like tier 1 team, like the S tier of teams for me is comprised of Astralis, Vitality, and Navi. And then the tier right below that is kind of like Big, Liquid, VP, G2, Heroic, I guess, something like that. Do you guys think VP though is the best of their tier? Like, are they knocking at the door? Are they the 4th best team in the world for you guys?
I'd say so. I think just given Big's recent form, I don't know if that's just because they're fresh off the player break or what, but given Big's recent form, the fact that VP have been playing really well for the last 3 tournaments in a row, I would put them above those teams. I think the next team to contest for that spot out of them will probably be G2.
I could agree with that.
But yeah, I would say VP are pretty comfortably at the top out of those 4 or 5 teams.
VP just looks so good that it's like hard for me to really say, because it feels like they haven't even been. I know they played good teams, but they haven't been like tested. Like they haven't had to like have a hard time in a few events in a row and then come back from it. It just feels like they've been on this meteoric rise that eventually has to end almost. Like that's kind of how it feels.
It kind of feels like to me that like VP hasn't really been tested against like that top 3, like Navi. In a while, like Navi, Astralis, and Vitality. Or like I don't know how my view of the other teams is dragged down by the fact that teams like Liquid are playing like Navi, Astralis, and Vitality. Like Big lost in Dreamhack, so they kind of, they actually did lose to like VP. But just like some of the other teams, it feels like, especially with like Liquid and Heroic, maybe it feels like maybe we see more losses to them because they are getting more they are getting tested more often against those teams. So I still just want to see how VP actually handles playing one of the top teams at the moment.
Okay, I think in a BO3 right now, VP can beat Navi, but Vitality and Astralis would be really tough. And I only say that because VP has beaten Navi before, and the fact that it's a regional matchup probably actually boosts their chances. But I think in a BO3 versus, well, they've beaten Big, actually, last year at Flashpoint. I don't think they've played Liquid, right? Did they play them at Blast? So. Well, they haven't played this 5-man anyway, so that's that. Yeah. I think they would beat Liquid today.
I agree.
Actually, I think against Heroic, I think VP beats Heroic also. I think for some reason G2 could beat VP though. Is kind of a weird thing.
I just feel like I don't know. I feel like Kenny S might lose the matchup to Jamin in the op duels at the moment, just based on current form.
Yeah.
So I feel like that might hurt their chances a little bit, but it's still possible with the way Nico's been playing for them to make up for that. So that would be a really interesting matchup actually to see.
But how stacked is the CIS region right now to not even have more than one team in the top 10 of like 2019? I feel like that region is so stacked right now.
It is pretty crazy. We got Navi, we got VP, we've got Gambit, we've got Spirit. Who else? I mean, I guess Forza. No, I'm not.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Forza is a little bit suspect at the moment.
We've got Lollipop 21K. No. I mean, yeah. I think that the CIS region is kind of. Whereas maybe it was contentious before if they were behind NA, I think they're firmly ahead of North America now, which hurts.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, but it's true. They just are better. So, yeah, I think the coolest thing about it is that they don't even play like. I think when you get down to like lower CIS teams, like a Forza, like a Namiga kind of team, the styles kind of blend together just a little bit more. Actually, Forza's kind of unique too. They 4-1 all the time, but. It doesn't feel like what we saw 2 years ago with like Vega Squadron type teams or Windstrike type teams. Like Vega was just super in your face aggressive all the time. It's like different styles is the thing I'm trying to say here. Like VP play a very different style to Na'Vi, and Gambit plays a different style to both of those. I guess Gambit's is more similar to Na'Vi's, but it's not that similar. I don't know if you guys just agree with this or what, but I just think that they're good enough now that I'm not just lumping them together where I used to do that a few years ago. Maybe that's just like my knowledge of the teams increasing though, but all right. So Fnatic actually made it to the grand finals in this. They beat out, I think the biggest victories they had was probably Heroic. I think that just definitely is their best showing overall. The fact that they got that one over the line. The fact they beat OG too, which was pretty impressive. But did you guys like what you saw from Jackinho?
I hadn't really had much of an opinion of him at first. Towards the end, he was coming into his own a bit. We actually scrummed him a few times, and I didn't really remember how he played because they all had like weird names, so I just had no idea what was Jackinho.
God damn it.
That's every team in every scrim, it feels like. It's just like, who the fuck is who? I don't even know.
So I have no idea how he was from scrims, but towards the end, he was definitely getting some more of his own. He's having like a lot of good games, it felt like, towards the end of the tournament, so I'm pretty confident, or I'm pretty excited to see what they do in the future.
Yeah, I personally didn't see much of him play, but just based on Fnatic's run, I think that it's not really a bad replacement per se. Like, flusha's a very difficult player to replace, obviously, but I think like they can still make it work. It'll be interesting to see how he slots in with more time. This is just his first tournament, and he managed to hold his own, I guess. So.
Yeah, I was impressed by... well, okay, so I hadn't watched Jackinho before this tournament started, but I did watch Haka's video about Haka saying that Jackinho's a body shotter. He got more headshots. He was quicker to kill than basically that's all I really gathered. But I will say that Jackinho, I think, takes some kind of more fun initiative than flusha did, whereas flusha was always that just bailout, super late round win condition kind of guy. Jackinho is actually, like, they're not the same player by any means, is all I'm gonna say. Like, he's doing stuff on his own. Like, he pushed B on Vertigo, I think, a couple times on CT side, or he took that space by himself. I think he played more towards Con on T side overpass, so that's like not what flusha had to do either. But basically, I think the way he's playing is more. It's more like an early mid-round player, which I think he should be, as opposed to flusha, who is like a very seriously like mid-late, almost strictly late round for me by the end of his tenure, because I feel like he kind of fell off even in mid-rounds. Yeah, okay, we can move on from that though, because
it worries me a bit on the long-term team balance of Fnatic, because you have JW, who's obviously a very early round player. You have Brolin, who's also a pretty early round, like, aggressive style player. So then you're really left with like Crimson Golden, I guess. But even Golden takes initiative a lot.
Golden fights in the beginning of rounds
exactly. So it makes me worried about what their late rounds are going to look like in a little bit, but still potential.
Yeah, on paper, I don't think it has the same amount of balance that the last roster did. So that is concerning. That's a good point that you bring up. Okay.
Hey, at the very least, while they're trying to figure out their new role distribution, they can just wear each other's names instead of actually wearing the appropriate name, and nobody will figure out who's who. It's fine. Just
make us guess. Yeah, we can move off of that though, because let's get to a Patreon question here before we get into the new news. So the Patreon question today comes from Pronogo. Who did it come from?
Whoa.
This is from...
You're putting me on the spot.
Essential worker.
Worker.
Essential worker, who is, I think, a $5... We'll see. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to guess what kind of patron he is, but he paid enough. He paid $5 or more to get this question out here, and he asks us, do you think that Astralis will be able to re-sign all of the main 5 when their contracts expire? If so, or if they do lose a member, can they still maintain top 3? Okay, so first part of that question, I'll throw it to Vu. Do you think Astralis will be able to re-sign their main 5?
No. Honestly, like I think like the team has to be on with the news that like people know about. I feel like people have to be pretty unhappy. They requested a break supposedly. Like all of this is, I think, like in the public domain, but it's like not 100% confirmed. So take that with a grain of salt. But it's like they requested a break. They weren't allowed one. Then it seemed like they were basically heavily pressuring their players with the replacements. I don't think players on that roster can possibly be happy with the way things are going. I think someone has got to leave, especially if the rumors are true that they were shopping around Zipnix and Esatag, right? Like I said before, like the smartest thing they ever could have done. I'm sure I said before, I think the smartest thing they could have possibly done is like sign their players to varying contracts so they can't all just bust out and leave whenever they want. Like, because if they all have the same contract length, they could just leave as a full roster. Like, they could all just peace out, and it wouldn't surprise me.
That would be the Nicola Niam play, though, of the century. Just Magis, we're going to give you a month and a half. Glaive, 2 years. Device, 2.5. And Dupree, you'll get 9 months. So yeah, like you said, they have to just re-sign in staggered contracts, and they can never like, guys, let's make a new team. It's like, dude, we're locked in these shit contracts.
Fine, just bench me. Okay, we're bringing in Yugi.
It's a 10-man roster, man. Like,
I mean, yeah, I would have to agree. I don't think that they'll be able to re-sign the main five just because based on stuff that Thorn has said in other videos, like players were being shopped around, and there was like a time where I think there must have been some Flashpoint orgs interested in signing some of these players. So if opportunities like that are still available, and if these players are still a little bit salty or feel like they were jerked around by the Astralis org, then there's definitely a good chance that a couple of them may not re-sign. On the second part, I guess it's a hard question to answer because it depends on which player doesn't get re-signed. Obviously, like if you lose Device, you're losing like your most consistent, impactful like playmaking operator.
Yeah, the only one like because like I would have said like Glaive, and it's like Magic was like IGL and they were looking good, so I was like,
they still look good. They did look good for that.
So it's like now I'm like the only person that I think would have enough of an effect that like would be incredibly hard to replace is Device.
Yeah,
because one, you'd be losing one of the core three of Dupree, Zipnix, and Device, who have been playing together since like fucking 2013.
Mm-hmm.
So you're losing that. You're losing your most consistent top 3 player, and that's gonna be hard to like replace. Like they'd still be a good team. Like they'd still probably be winning trophies, but
what if it's Yugi?
What if they lose Bubsky? What if they lost Bubsky?
Oh no, not Zipix on Nuke.
So it's like Device is like the only one I feel like if they lost would be like enough of an impact that it could potentially knock them like out of the top 3.
I agree with that. I think if they lost pretty much anybody but Device, I actually think they could maintain top 3. I think you put Device it's almost like if you just put Device on a team. You know what? Actually, if they lost, say, Dupree, that just means there's more frags for Device, and Device will. I think Device could get top 2 above Zywer or Simple. I think it can happen. So
no, that's not gonna happen.
They lose one of their fraggers. They've just got more frags for their best player.
Okay.
Like
they're in Denmark. Like, do you really think
exactly
you can't replace Dupree with another sick fucking rifler? Like, you're out of your mind.
There's so many sick players in Denmark that you could replace any of the riflers with. So
yeah, they could even replace him with Bubsky. I heard he's pretty good.
That's too far-fetched for me. I'm not buying it. Okay. I think that'll wrap it up for the Patreon question. Let's talk about some roster moves that have come out. I think the biggest one by far is just Twistzz to FaZe. So let's just talk about this.
So excited for this.
Yes. And let's just talk about it in the karrigan context. Okay.
Yeah. Like, we're just going to assume karrigan is joining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of this discussion, because like, why even talk about
how will FaZe do with Olaf and Twistzz?
Exactly. I'm just personally not interested like in that. Okay, so Vu, are you buying FaZe stock?
Well, this is one of those things where like I'm buying FaZe stock, but like y'all are all speculating FaZe up to like this GameStop level of share price, right? Like this is
we'll put it like this. based off of their HLTV ranking, which is 19th right now, are you buying FaZe?
Yeah, I'm buying as much as I can afford, man. Like, I feel like this team is going to be so sick. With karrigan's going to have like everything he needs. I feel like this roster could not go wrong. So I just love the idea of it.
Yeah, I think Twistzz is one of those players who will fit into karrigan's style really well, which is what I'm really, really excited for. Like he mentioned in the HLTV confirmed episode that he hasn't really been able to play his role since he came into the team. Like he's wanted to pick up the op occasionally, which I will say I don't know if I really agree with. I don't know about autimatic. That. I don't know about that, Mr. Headshot King picking up the op. Yeah. But
no, he plays a lot of anchor sites that I think is useful to have an op. So I can understand.
True, fair enough. But I will say, I think him and the way that karrigan has a really loose style based around his players will be like a match made in heaven almost, because Twistzz is really good when he's set free, and that is something that I'm looking like super forward to seeing that unfold. Also, I think it's important to mention, since we're talking about the player they brought in, removing Kirby, I think obviously like the right move in terms of if they're going to bring in karrigan for Olaf. Kirby is the only other player that I think would be eligible to be removed from the team right now.
He's kind of the odd man out.
Yeah. Unfortunate.
Yeah, because Kirby actually looked kind of good. I didn't mind what I saw from him actually on this FaZe team. I think he could replace a player like Dupree. Who would have thought of that though? Who would, or put him in for maybe if they lose Magisk on Astralis, maybe put in Kirby. I just don't know what that team could accomplish. I've never seen a lineup like that before. Yeah, but
I got a historical question.
Cloud9 at the major.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, what is it?
So my question is this prospective FaZe lineup better for karrigan than the previous FaZe lineup that had Nico, Guardian, etc., like previous Olaf Meister? How do we stack those two up? Like, I think the previous one was better, but I'm curious as to like arguments for the opposition here.
I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say. This one could be better. This one doesn't have like as much of a slam dunk superstar like Nico, like the last one did.
Yeah,
but I feel like it has the potential to be more well-rounded with if if you can have like Twistzz, Cold, not necessarily reaching their peaks, but just hitting much better form than they're in now.
I can't remember how good Olaf was when that original FaZe roster came around. I feel like he was already kind of on a pretty hard downswing at that point, right?
He kind of was. He was just brought in to be like a glorified role player. Like he was like just being like a role player, support player in the team, but just like a fucking overqualified one. I think was kind of the idea.
I really feel like karrigan with Twistzz, like karrigan's really good at kind of revitalizing people that have had a bit of a downswing, and I think he could definitely do that with Twistzz. I think Twistzz is really going to like the playing under karrigan. I think that's could be a
karrigan's just going to run and die for everyone, and then Rain will probably do something similar. I don't think Rain's like yeah, I gotta have my star spots over Cold and Twistzz. Like, I think Rain will be pretty good. So then you'll have, Twistzz, Cold, and the clutch minister Brokey coming in. That's the last three. I think it's pretty sick.
Saying clutch minister when Cold is on your team and it's not Cold.
Dude, Brokey is fucking insane.
He is good. Yeah, he is good. I think Brokey is quite great. I'm a little worried about who's going to be taking like the bitch roles just a little bit. But I think if it's evenly distributed, I think it'll probably work out for them. Like,
Rain takes it on one. As many as he can. Because one, he also has like smart players around him. It's not like he has to micromanage like Cold, Zero, and Twistzz.
Right.
For the most part on their CT side, so I'm sure that's fine.
I actually don't think Cold wouldn't. I think Cold wouldn't be opposed to taking some of those roles as well. Someone like Twistzz is coming in.
I think he has, but he's played.
Cold plays some of those spots just naturally. So does Twistzz.
Yeah.
Like, remember Twistzz like wanted, like when Kyle was still in the pool, Twistzz was like, I want to play drop. Like,
I like drop. It's a challenge.
He's like
I want to play what he said. Yeah, I remember.
What the fuck is wrong with you? This is the most 8 spot in the game.
I remember my teammates and I kept saying that. We were all like, when we were playing Cobble together, we just kept quoting Twistzz. I like drop. It's a challenge. It's just like.
I remember I would bring it up on our old C9 team. I'd be like, so like if Cobble gets put back in the pool, who's playing drop? And then Sion would be like, sounds like a job for Ricky. And Ricky's like, cool. Yeah, drop.
Yep. All right, let's see.
I think Rain was one of the first guys to come out that and say that dropping karrigan was a mistake, wasn't he? Like, I feel like he would basically do anything.
Yeah, I'm sure he would listen to what he says.
Spots around us over the course of the FaZe teams, and like I'm sure on T side he'll still be working in the pack on his normal role that he wants, so he'll be fine.
Do you think? Okay, how about this? Here's a question to leave this discussion on. Do you think that Mausports, the peak that they reached with karrigan was probably winning back-to-back tournaments with CS Summit, the China, whatever the Chinese tournament,
China Champions Cup.
Yeah, China Champions Cup, whatever, and then they won. What did they win?
Pro League.
One more. Pro League. Okay, and they also came in second in Epicenter. So it was like 3 first places, 1 second place, and then before that and after that it was kind of rough. Do you think this team can accomplish, let's say, 2 back-to-back tournament wins this year?
This year, I have no idea, just because of online. But like,
it's tough. Yeah.
So,
I guess.
So it's like I'm just predicting whether they're going to be a good team or not because I have no idea who's going to win anything.
Yeah, that's actually true. Yeah. It's not a bad.
I feel like they could. Like, if we were like in a land circuit, especially at the moment, I would definitely say I think it's definitely achievable. Like if they hit like the right peak, the right time.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like I don't know, just that duo of Twistzz and Cold is just so
on land.
Yeah, especially on land. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if they find their form back with karrigan, like, because it's not like these two have been like through the ringer, like journeymen, like going through various people and struggling. Like Cold went from like Fallen to playing in like some shitstorm of FaZe. You know, Twistzz has just played with Liquid for like his entire career almost now.
Yeah.
So obviously things just kind of got cluttered there. So it's like both of these players have the potential to like reach like sick form again. Especially Twistzz, who I think it's possible hasn't even like reached his absolute peak yet. Like I think there's a world where Twistzz like finds an even better form than he ever had in Liquid more consistently.
I actually think it's possible too.
Also, just like emotionally anchored better on FaZe, given like the last little while that he was on Liquid. He said he had a lot of issues, like personality wise, and conflicts with other players. So like being able to be anchored, being on LAN, being with players that he like that are just an entirely new environment for him can definitely boost that for sure.
This team's honeymoon period, I feel like, is gonna just win a championship immediately. Like, I think they're gonna win a tournament within their first two tournaments. If once there are 5, it just, I just see the stars aligning for them actually. All right, it's been a slow week. Let's move on to Obo got released from Complexity. This was a real shocker, Kappa. Okay, so basically, we all knew this was gonna happen, but now that he's actually like a complete free agent and he has no buyout or anything like that, what's your dream destination for Obo?
A team that has been around for a while, that needs to like, I think it's time to make a change and try to up the ante, and that's OG. And I want to see Obo on OG, probably in place for NBK.
Oh,
but
wow!
I think that's like the spots that he would most fit into.
Spots, yeah. The voice on the team, though, he's not.
Voice on the team, not so much. But I don't know how important that really is. Like losing that, like you'll still have Valdi, who decently experienced. You'll have Issa. I mean, Issa and Mansu are like now both decently experienced after a year, so it's not like they need, just a fucking third voice in MBK micromanaging them. So that's what I would go for at least.
See, OG's interesting, but I don't know if he would make a move there because he said he's willing to travel to EU for extended periods, but I don't think he said he wants to live in EU. Just based on what his tweets have been, I don't know if that's 100% or not, but OG is definitely not a team that's going to be like temporarily living in NA, right?
I think maybe he has less of a problem with it if just like teams are more set and like he understands where he is and where he's going. I think the problem with Nicole was just like things that just happened so last minute. It felt like you never really got settled anywhere, just living like from hotel to hotel.
Yeah.
It can just make a big difference in terms of like the mindset you have going into it.
Well, for me to bring this discussion back to when we were talking about EG earlier, I think he would be a really good 6th player for OG, just to come in and revitalize their roster a little bit.
OG or EG?
EG.
Okay.
For EG, because I think that team's hit, like they've stagnated in a sense, and I think bringing him in as a 6th, even to plug in on a couple of different maps, could just bring new ideas to the team. It could give them like another way to approach certain maps and certain sides of the map. So I think that would help them without needing to make like a drastic roster change. He's also free right now, And I think bring him on even in like a short term, like 1-year contract, see how he plugs into that sort of system and whether like they can make a 6-man roster work. That could give them a good chance to revitalize themselves, give Obo a chance to raise his stock price as well. So I think he would fit decently well in that team.
I feel like when it comes to a sixth man situation, like almost any team would be pretty happy to pick up Obo. He's like as good as you can get, I feel like, for a 6-man. I don't know if you'd want to play as a 6-man though. I think OG is a pretty decent shout if you're gonna like slot him in for a player. I mean, I would say extra salt, but he probably, doesn't want to drop down there. But if he's gonna stay in NA, if we're saying like he doesn't want to play on an EU team, then it's hard to find a team that makes sense other than like 6-man for EG or something like that. It's hard to think. I can never even remember NA rosters that aren't like EG Liquid at this point, to be honest.
If he's gonna stay in NA, I think 6-man for EG would make more sense for me than Liquid right now. Liquid's done enough changes lately that you don't need to do anything for a while. Let that run. I actually feel like I could pick the maps that I would want Obo to slot in for EG. Like I'm visualizing it right now, and I'd want him on Nuke for Tarek. On Inferno, I'd actually want him for Stanislaw, which is crazy, but I actually think that would work out still. I think for let me think of some other maps for him. Like Dust 2, I would probably want him for maybe honestly just fucking Tarek again. I think a few maps would just be him for Tarek, and then I think on Mirage I would just want EG as they are. I wouldn't want them to change anything. But yeah, I think that would be really cool. I actually think this a cool spot for him to go to would be FPX, but I don't think they're looking to change a player there. But I think that if he were there for like for Modern, FPX would have more consistency. If he were there for Stico, it would just be like him in a support player role. If he were there for Zen, I don't think it would actually change too much, so I wouldn't want that. But I think FPX just likes this 5-man lineup enough that I don't think they want to do anything like that. I don't think they should either. But yeah, I think most top 20 teams would, like you guys said, just if they spoke English and they want a 6-man, Obo would be perfect for that. Okay.
You know what could be a good move? Complexity minus JKS plus Obo.
Dude, that would be the best. That literally is the best move.
Yeah.
As sad as it is, that is actually by far the best move for Obo and for Complexity.
Yeah, it's just sad. Like that bridge is clearly burnt. Like you can't convince that one to happen. Like, but that really would be such a clear, obvious move. It's unfortunate the way that one played out.
Yeah, it's lame. It is lame because I like watching. That team was fun. That team was sick. Okay, and to continue with how slow of a week this has been, NIP rebranded, guys. This is something we've been nonstop chattering about for days now. I don't think anybody can shut up about it. In fact, it's the talk of the town. Okay, let's give everyone's take on the new rebrand. Do you like it, Mix?
I don't know. The neon green's just a bit much for me. That's the only part I don't like about it. Like literally, I'm not saying that I even had to go back to like their old colors, but like I just don't like the neon green. Like it's just bad to me.
All right,
you don't
what's
like
your take?
ninjas and chaos?
Yeah, chaos in pajamas.
Chaos in pajamas. I like the logo. Yeah, I think I'd agree with Mix there. I like the logo itself. It's like a nice, cleaner design, I would say.
Yeah.
I honestly really like the way they've kept the general theme of it, but just made it a little bit cleaner. The neon green is a little bit atrocious on the eyes for sure. I'm wondering, like, what would you guys suggest as a color in place of this neon green?
I don't know. I would even just gone with like something like super simple, like super dark, like ninjas and pajamas, right? Just go with like literally like some type of dark gray black theme. But I mean, also I'm super biased because all I wear is black because I'm just fucking like emo kid. But like that's what I would have gone with at least. It's just some like dark combination between like gray, silver, black, something cool. Maybe a little bit gold. Kind of.
Yeah, I think gold is like the obvious choice here. I think like in terms of paying homage to the old color, and then it's like a slightly updated because the old one was kind of a brownish kind of gold or something. Vu, what are your thoughts on the logo?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much gonna echo the same thing. I don't think it's great. I feel like the neon green is almost like a troll, so that when they scale it back and then do something else, it's gonna be like, oh my god, they really care about the old branding. That's what it feels like a lot of the time. It's like they make it slow, like these orgs rebrand to something so shit, and then they're just like, we're gonna nod back to our old brand. And then everyone's like, oh my god, it's so much better. It's like, we love it so much. Like, that's genuinely what it feels like sometimes.
Shout out EG.
But literally,
And
dude,
Dignitas.
Dig.
Dig was like the most obvious.
Dig's logo should never have changed. Their logo is just really good. Their regular alien one.
their like rebranded logo was just fucking terrible. I don't care.
Oh yeah,
The owl.
Yeah, the
The
owl.
owl didn't even make sense, dude.
It was so like unoriginal. Like it just felt so amateur. Like I don't know.
It just looks like a high school basketball team. Like the owl. I just didn't like it at all.
Actually, like, much better. But dude, NIP with like black and gold or like some type of like black and silver, like low key type thing would have been sick. But
I will say, I hate their jerseys. Like, if you look at this tweet and look at their jerseys, it's just so ugly, man.
Oh no!
Like,
Dude,
who decided to put the logo like smack dab in the center of their jersey?
Yeah, you could have done so much better. I don't know.
Who decided to do the announcement in Japanese? Like,
they did do that. They did a.
So they're telling me it took them a year to come up with the shit. Like with this jersey, with this like, I don't know.
I feel like I'm not aware of what is fashionable or like hip in Sweden. I'll say that because this just feels so detached from what I would think is good aesthetics, and I must be missing something. I feel like the whole like Japanese fonts and things like that was played out like 8 years ago in America or 2. So I feel like that aesthetic choice is also just done. I actually feel like Americans are like starting to actually like Arabic texts again on certain clothing brand, like certain streetwear brands are using Arabic a little bit more. But I think it's kind of more like it's a little edgy because it's like, oh, like around like 20 years ago this would have been like way like nobody would be a fan of that, but now people are more accepting. I don't know. Yeah, it was a too soon thing for sure back then, but now it's coming back into vogue. I
think you guys are just missing the fact that Nip's about to announce their 5-year sponsorship agreement with Crunchyroll.
Yeah. Oh my god. I actually have a Crunchyroll account, so I mean.
same.
Yeah. All right. Word.
Weeks out.
Yeah. Okay. I'll say this before we move on. Can someone use like a purplish or maroon color as a logo? I like that color a lot, and not a single team in the top 30 uses that color at all. Whereas we've got a bunch of teams that use white, a bunch of teams that use yellow, red, blue.
Valorant, they had a Mamba Mode Gaming, which
Yeah,
like took all the money from their players and staff. I cannot think of a more scummy fucking thing to do than to name your brand Mamba Mode Gaming after a deceased basketball player that died last year, and then steal all the fucking money from your staff and shit. Like, holy shit!
Who work hard, living up to the name.
Anyways,
Mamba mentality. I'm out.
Yeah,
also,
Mamba out. That's what they said.
A purple on the nip logo would look nice, by the way. Like it would actually fit like the ninja theme as well.
Yeah, I think purple for NIP's logo would be better. Like, but whatever, they chose this. Okay. Last piece of news. This just happened today that flusha has told the HLTV Confirmed podcast, and then Ryan wrote it on his Twitter, so Ryan gets the credit, that this is this team is not happening. The Flushy-matic team is not coming to be.
This is automatic to Valorant, basically, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for a bit of background on this, flusha basically said that they had a full 5-man roster lined up, and they were shopping around to organizations, but they were looking specifically for organizations that were established. So I guess like the 100 Thieves or the TSM sort of brands. And they did get offers from other organizations, but they didn't actually have any basis or like any form of like a long-term team beforehand. So they turned those down. And now it seems like the team will be going their separate ways. flusha said that he's just looking for other offers. He said there's still a chance the team sticks together, but unless they get an offer, evidently not going to happen.
Okay.
Who do you think the other two were?
No
The other
idea.
two?
Yeah.
Most of the European peeps, so it's
Not
like
not Smooya because autimatic wants to op. And
What
I
do you
just
think?
have
What
to
do you
bring
think
it up.
about that? What do you think about autimatic saying on the op? I feel like he should be going back to the rifle.
I mean, he tried going back to the rifle and the C9
Yeah,
thing with
yeah,
maps
yeah.
didn't really work, so he went back to the yacht. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think he's fine operating.
I think he's okay. I think
I
he's
think he would have been fine if he was in the like a set team.
yeah.
I wanted to see him play again without Daps, like on a set, like a real team. Like the Gen G team was a potential team with Zeppa and Vanity, and potentially me, and I was like really looking forward to that because I wanted to see how autimatic would do, like not on a team with Daps. So, but obviously it hasn't really happened since. So, guess who knows? We may never find out.
Dude,
You guys
I
say
would-
autimatic is a good opper, but surely he's not better than Smooya. Like Smooya is clearly like a cut above, right?
in terms of mechanics, yeah, Smooth's better, but I actually
People don't like being on a team with Smooya. So.
yeah, it's just like one of those chemistry things where people have expressed that.
Is that
they
why
don't
he's
wanna
so
be
good
there.
on Movistar Riders? Because they can't understand anything he says, so they're like, "Oh, this guy's awesome."
Yeah, it could be.
Yes, yes, that is exactly the reason. I've talked to them in
I feel
Spanish.
like automatic's definitely. You can't say he's a bad opper. It
Not
just
really.
feels like he's never gonna be like that guy, like that amazing. You know.
Yeah, he's expressed that he really wants to stick on the op, and it's just like at this point, I've been really. I feel like for like a year, I've been just like, oh, can he move back? And then eventually, he just has to say that I'm not switching back, and then it's like, what's the point in torturing myself at this point, hoping
Yeah.
for 2018 autimatic to return? It's not happening, so let's just move on. It sucks, but it is what it is.
He said he was gonna end his career as an opera, and it looks like he's about to fulfill that promise.
Oh
Push to
my
Valorant.
God. Oh
Savage.
Lord. Oh my God.
Maui, you think you're going to be doing one last ride video for autimatic soon? Is that going to happen? We're going to get to
I
it
could
in
do
like a
it.
month's time.
It's literally just this. Yeah, it's just
The same map,
Sure.
even same demo.
Sure, same demo exactly. I'll just get everybody's POV in that demo at some point or another. Okay. Any idea? Is Sunny gonna go to Havu then? I feel like everybody from ENCE just moves to Havu. That's just
I don't care.
okay. Sure, that's fine. That is a fair opinion that you are allowed to have. Okay. All right,
I guess.
let's just get to the last question of the week. Let's get to the last Patreon question of the week. This is replacing the question of the week just because you're a great donator. And so this question comes from Liam Wilson. Other than Yakindar and Art, of course, who are players who create a lot of space for their team and may be underrated?
It's like a lot of IGLs. So like Glaive is someone that did that a lot.
Golden.
Golden, yeah.
Stanislaw,
Golden's
actually.
another one. I remember watching Glaive like when I was prepping for Astralis for the first time. I was just kind of a little bit like I knew he was like an aggressive player, but I was a little bit caught off guard by some of the things he was doing. Like just complete batshit insane info plays, just pushing Ivy randomly. Like I was like, dude, Glaive's a fucking for a team that's like the epitome of like tactical Counter Strike. Their IGL plays like a fucking idiot sometimes. This is fantastic.
Autimatic, maybe.
Maybe Hampus is another one recently that was kind of a pain in the ass to play.
Hampus is a good shout for this one. That's that yeah. He gets in people's face. He plays like a moron sometimes. It looks like,
Yeah.
but it works. So he's like the only reason that NIP feel like they have any kind of unique style to them is because of Hampus for me.
Yeah, that's literally the only reason. Like the only unique thing about NIP at the moment, it feels like a lot of the time is Hampus.
When I say that though, he actually I say he looks like a moron, but it's like I could say that about Art and Yakinder also. It just like looks so out of pocket the way that they play. It's not though. There's more to it than that.
Yeah.
Historically, I think pretty much every like top team usually has a guy that, except for sometimes the Danish ones, usually they have a guy that's like hyper aggressive and kind of catching people off guard. Like, you know, Liquid picking up Stewie, and then they always end up being super underrated. Like Liquid picked up Stewie, and his stats weren't amazing, but I think he added a different dynamic to Liquid, and then they went on their huge run.
Yeah,
because he's creating a lot of space. He's making basically teams respect that anything could happen at any moment, right? You got like JW for Fnatic did that historically, right? You know, just the op could be in your face at any moment.
JW was my favorite back in the day.
JW is still my favorite player of all time, man. Top 1.
He is. When I went back through the 2012, 2013 stuff, JW was the first person in CSGO that did aggressive opping, like, period. Nobody else did it at all.
A couple non-IGLs historically that I think I would give a shout out to are like Elige.
Yes.
Not
yeah.
to like the same extent as like some of these players, but he is someone that's very aggressive and like is like getting a lot of info and shit. And also, especially on like the old 100 Thieves lineup, JKM was like always like easily their most aggressive player, and the one like taking every first engagement, like insane like kill percentage. So those are like 2 others I would shout out: Hampus, Jacob, Elige for me.
Mir on Spirit is in everybody's faces all the time. Like, these players aren't underrated from what I've seen of them, but like Mir in defaults is just like, he's so good at just reading the situation and then taking the fight to them. Like, he can be in a lot of different situations on different maps and still like, he just has a lot of little tricks, or he knows timings, or he knows based off of this what kind of risks can I take. And he's the reason that Spirit, like, basically him and Degster are why Spirit are going to be consistently a team that you have to like really be like, you have to be on your A game to beat them, because they're always going to do damage. Who else though? I guess Electronic for riflers he's not as aggressive as I would say Mir or Lijar, but he's also a person that can just take space with his body a lot of the time. Yeah, I don't know. Do you guys have anybody else? Maybe like, I'm just looking through teams. Config, I guess, kind of does that too.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say Config's underrated though. I think he's just nuts.
Yeah, and then none of these players are underrated. I don't think. I think they're all good. Yeah, when I go through all of the top 30 teams and I look at their players, I think we've nailed most of them. I guess Bentet would be in this also.
I want to go for one that's like kind of underrated on the old team.
Okay.
MLTM.
Sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I think that
he was really important for like getting info, especially in our CT sides.
Yeah. Vu, do you have anybody else?
There's this guy on the roster I coach. It's 0-2 in Premier. Probably about to be 0-3 tomorrow. You know.
That's their coach talking.
Listen, there's been some roster changes. All right.
Yeah.
I think pretty much everyone's been listed at this point. I feel like we've got like 15 names.
Yeah. I think we're good. I think we're good on that one. I think that'll close it out. So let's just get to our shout outs here. So Vu, what have you got to shout out? What you got coming up?
I have a bunch of videos with plenty of sponsors over on youtube.com/VCSGO. And if any tournaments are watching this and want to hire me and pay me some big bucks, that'd be great. You know, if any teams want to pay me like $2,000 a month so I can stop coaching for free, that'd be great too. You know.
Okay. That's it. Hire Vu. All right. No, what have you got?
I have nothing coming up immediately. Gonna be doing an interview with PTR at some point soon.
Oh.
That might not even be out by the time the next podcast rolls out, so a little early tease on that one. But
Peter.
Yeah.
Back from the poker world, I think, if I've been following him.
Is that where he went?
Yeah, he was playing online poker, I think, for a while.
He's been tweeting at Doug Polk a lot. I've noticed that.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. I'll make sure to ask him about his burgeoning poker career as well.
Maybe it's not so burgeoning because he's coming back.
I mean, I feel like if you do well in poker, you're never coming back to CS, man. Like, you're gone for good.
Yeah,
possible. But yeah, other than that, just follow me on Twitter. I might start streaming on Twitch occasionally, so let's, follow me on there. It's the same @note, and yeah.
All right, Mix, what you got?
Shout out to Cloud9. I know, shocking.
Damn. Last time you shouted out OC. Do you have a random player you want to throw out there now?
I was gonna shout out Alex. He was upset that I was cheating on him with OC, so trying to right things there.
So he watched this. He watched this and then saw that you shouted out OC.
No, it was on Twitter.
Okay.
One of my OC love tweets.
Oh, I see.
Brian responded and added Alex and said I was cheating on him. So
Yeah.
Kind of a
Classic
snitch.
Brian.
Yeah.
The rat.
All right, Pronogo, what's your shout out?
I'll shout out that Vu and I are doing Elo Heaven tomorrow with Tea Time. You can check that out at twitch.tv/semipronogo. And
Dude, that's gonna be a lot of. There's gonna be a lot of salt in there. There's gonna be a lot of. I'm interested in that one. I'll watch that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. We got the Mauisnake
We might have to reschedule it.
Oh,
Hey,
okay.
I think after the
This is news to Pronogo.
Oh,
yes, I gotta go to sleep soon. I have prac at 1 a.m. So you know,
Nice.
shout out
so
to
shout
like
out.
Shout
shout out
out
to
to
my
Brad.
Fun.
All right, I'll shout out quickly then. Just follow me on everything. Twitch is probably what I'm gonna be doing for the next week or so. Maybe I'll be at some events, but they're kind of up in the air right now, so I'm not really sure. But just
More fast
Again,
food tier lists coming your way at twitch.tv/Mauisnake.
I'm doing it. Oh, you know what? I am gonna do one. I'm gonna do a gloves tier list. So I'll do that. I'm gonna actually do that. I think with my girlfriend. We're gonna just she'll just hop on. You won't see her, but she'll be there in voice. You can hear her, and then we're gonna.
yeah,
she
you
knows
don't know her. She goes to another school.
Yeah, exactly. No, but I asked her because she just knows design and stuff way better than I do. So I think she has some good, more objective takes. Whereas I'm gonna be like, the Vice gloves are expensive. I like them. You know.
Do a
where
team
it's-
logo tier list. Team logo tier list.
Could do that too in the future. We'll see how it goes first. Yeah, we'll see. We're gonna experiment with that. So, yep, that's my shout out. So
If you're one of our patrons, make sure to ask a question if you want it answered.
shout out to that. Shout out to that. All right,
Yeah,
that's gonna be
we
it.
shouted that out, and we got 2 questions this time.
That
which is up
worked.
from 0 the previous time, so that is pretty good. I like that.
It worked. It went from people just giving us money to people actually wanting something for their money. So make sure you get your money's worth. Submit your questions. All right.
Market.
Follow everybody on Twitter. All right. Good night.
But